Bloody Sunday was the culmination of a series of riots that began with the tram strike on August the 26th, the Tuesday. The baton charge that led to Bloody Sunday was on Sunday, was on the 31st of August. It was really, if you like, the last straw for the DMP, the local police force, and the Royal Irish Constabulary, who'd been drafted into the city. They'd been abused, verbally assaulted, had missiles thrown at them all week. Many of them had been on duty almost continuously, and that day, that's about 1 o'clock, just after 1 o'clock on that Sunday, discipline basically broke down, and they baton charged the crowds and injured between 400 and 600 people. We'll never know how many, and we'll never know how many people died, because in those days, if you wanted to register a death, it cost money. And what was the point in registering the death of somebody when A, you couldn't afford it, and B, what difference did it make? So I think a lot of people died in the lockout that we don't really know about, but we know for certain a couple of men died as a result of the rioting the previous night, and at least one man died on that day, not in O'Connell Street. He was literally beaten to death in his bed in Corporation Flats around the corner, which the police raided afterwards. Well, Jim Larkin was a very charismatic figure. He was the first man ever to mobilise and organise the city's semi-skilled and unskilled workers. They formed over a quarter of the total adult male population of the city, which means everybody over the age of 14. He formed them into the Transport Union. He gave them hope as well as an organisation, and he was a syndicalist, he was a socialist. He was anathema really to William Martin Murphy and the bosses of Dublin, who felt threatened anyway by Anglo-Saxon materialism and competition, and this man was driving up wages. So after the tram strike began, Larkin called a rally, a mass rally in O'Connell Street for the Sunday. The government proclaimed the rally, banned it. He said he was going to speak anyway. Trade unionists actually marched out of the city to have a rally that day, but Larkin was smuggled into the Imperial Hotel, where Cleary's store now is, and he managed to get onto one of the balconies and address the crowd. As soon as he did so, every police officer of the rank of inspector and above ran into the hotel to arrest him, and a sergeant in front of the building saw the crowd surge forward to hear what Larkin had to say, told his men to drive them back, which they did. The crowd fled across the street into the arms of more policemen who countercharged, and lots of people were trapped in that area. The importance of Bloody Sunday really is that it transformed the local Dublin dispute into a British dispute, because the TUC, the British Trade Union Congress, was meeting the very next day in Manchester. They were horrified by what had happened, and they pledged unconditional support to Dublin. So from being a localised tram strike, you suddenly had a situation where Dublin became the cockpit of industrial relations on these islands.